Welcome to The Big Story with Dylan Ang. I'm Olivia Quay, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. First, the founder of Shincheonji Church, which is at the center of the coronavirus outbreak in South Korea, has apologized. He called the epidemic a great calamity. Lee Man-hee told reporters in a news conference that the church tried their best to stop the virus spread, but were unsuccessful. He then bowed low twice in a traditional sign of humility and regret.
But his apology ended up spurring more outrage because of a watch he was wearing. Visible on his left wrist, the gold watch was apparently given by disgraced former President Park Geun-hye, who was impeached and jailed in 2017 for corruption and abuse of power. As of 5 p.m. local time, South Korea saw 600 new cases and 3 more deaths. The total infections there has now surpassed 4,800. President Moon Jae-in yesterday declared war against the virus, placing all government agencies on the 24-hour emergency footing. And today, South Korea launched drive-through roadside testing facilities as demand for infection checks soars.
In the US, all passengers on direct flights from Italy and South Korea will now be screened. The country is also looking to Singapore and Hong Kong on the most effective community mitigation efforts to manage the outbreak. The US recorded 4 more deaths in Washington state, bringing the total deaths there to 6.
In Italy, the total number of infected cases has surpassed 2,000, with more than 50 deaths. And the National University of Singapore has suspended all exchange programs sending students to Italy. And over in China, 31 more people have died, but 125 new cases were reported on Monday, the lowest number since January. On the back of declining numbers, Wuhan closed its first makeshift hospital. Sharing more on that is China correspondent Lisbeth Law. Liz, Wuhan has shut down its first makeshift hospital. There are still 15 more in operation, but is the closure of one of them a sign that the situation is improving in Hubei province?
Well, I think we have to take this all with cautious optimism. Obviously, the situation is improving. It's been a while, and because of all these measures that China has been taking, and can clearly see that the numbers have been going down. And as you mentioned, the numbers that came out this morning showed that it was the lowest ever day increase of cases ever since the Chinese government started releasing these figures in January. So that is a hopeful sign. But I suppose and China is aware of this as well. There is no time to let the guard down, and there have been calls every day in official media that we must continue. They have to continue that sort of prevention work and epidemic clearing work that has been going on.
Right, Liz. Did it come as a surprise to you that the number of cases and deaths in China has dwindled? Because less than 2 weeks ago, on February 21st, it was reported that Wuhan wanted to build 19 more makeshift hospitals.
I think it shouldn't come as a surprise because, again, this is a very fluid situation. Things change all the time, and the way the disease evolves and the way an outbreak evolves really is something that is just constantly changing and constantly fluid. So I suppose what this also shows is really how the Chinese government is, despite its size and the criticisms about it, saying that it can sometimes be quite inflexible, but it shows that when the CCP, when it puts its mind to it, can be quite nimble as well.
Now, Liz, just final question. Hubei province has been under lockdown since late January. How has that situation evolved? I understand that you wrote a story about a Yale NUS professor, as well as one on a Singaporean with a business in Wuhan.
Right. So the Yale NUS professor, assistant professor Xia Xing, she has been in Wuhan since she went back for Chinese. I beg your pardon. She wasn't in Wuhan. She is in Qianjiang, which is a city about 150 kilometers away from Wuhan. And
Right.
she says that it's people are getting bored, and the measures are becoming increasingly more stringent. And Wuhan still is not letting down its guard. In fact, it's increased the sort of measures where they are only allowing one member from every household to go out once every 2 or 3 days just to get groceries and essentials. So she said that people would like to go out because just behind the apartment block where she lives is fields and some forests. And she says that people do like going on walks, just to get some fresh air, get some exercise, stretch your legs. But party officials have been so concerned about it that there was a tiny path that people were using to access the forest. And even then, they've started to block that off just to increase on the crackdown. Going back to what we were talking about earlier, this is also because China is really worried about not just about exporting cases, but really worried about importing cases. As we've seen, patients have brought back cases from Iran and from Italy as well. 8 of them were working in the same restaurant. So all of these measures obviously is not easing up, and it's really to prevent the re-importing of cases that could undo everything that China has done so far.